Okay, everyone, good afternoon. Can you turn on your cameras?
Good afternoon, teacher.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Afternoon, teacher.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Okay, so how was your vacation? Good. Okay. Ate a lot of grahams? Yes. No grahams? Okay. Got a lot of gifts? Okay. Took a lot of rest? Okay, so I just hope that you make the most of your um, holiday vacation. Okay, so for today, this is our first meeting of the year. Okay, and with that, also our first meeting for our third quarter. Okay, so because since last meeting, we had an extra meeting, which was the official start of our third quarter. But for today, this is going to be the start of our discussion. Okay, so because I think the third quarter, they said that this will be shorter than the last one. Okay, so we'll make most out of the meetings that we have so that we can have discussions and further progress. Okay, and okay, also our attendance class managers who are not here.
Teacher, for the girls, Baliwag is not here.
Baliwag and
Only Baliwag, teacher.
only Baliwag. Okay. How about for the boys?
Teacher, it's Desakula.
Angelito, Disapula. Yes.
Teacher also wins medal.
Also who?
Wins medal, teacher. Wins medal.
Vince Medal. Okay. So we have 3 absentees. Okay, so probably later they'll enter. Okay, so let's head on already to our discussion. Okay, let's start. Okay, let's go. Okay, so for to start off our third quarter, okay, so we're going to start with the lesson 1, HTML form controls, text fields, and field sets. Okay, so that is our first lesson for third quarter. But first, let's have a quick review on what we had last quarter. Okay, so last quarter we discussed a lot, and we can already put different things inside our HTML document. Which can you give an example of that we already discussed? Oh, yes, give one. Tala.
The forms.
Again?
Forms.
Okay, so forms. Okay. So how about the informations that can be enumerated? Okay, what are those? Yes, again, Tala.
The tags we're gonna use is the form tag, the label tag, and the input tag.
Okay, so there, input tags, labels. Okay, so those are for the forms. Okay, but for last quarter. Okay, right? we had different elements that are being inputted inside our HTML document. So how about informations that can be displayed inside a column and a row? So what do we call those? Yes, Aguda.
Tables.
Okay, we had table. So what else? Our topics last time. Yes, Gabriel.
Hyperlinks.
We have also hyperlinks or the links. Okay. Yes, Angel.
Lists.
Okay, we also have lists. Okay, so where those lists, we have different forms of listing methods. Like, yes, Abaya. Adalia pala. Adalia, rather.
Ordered list, unordered list, and description list. That's all.
Okay, so in the list, we have ordered, which can be alphabetical, numerical, or Roman numeral. We can also count in reverse. And we can also start the count at a certain order. What else? Okay, again, Tala.
Font styles. The
Okay,
serif and the
our,
sans serif.
okay, so font styles. Yes, Benedict.
Character entities, teacher.
Yes, we have the character entities. And okay, so yes, Aguda again.
I think it's embedding images, videos, and sounds.
Again.
Embedding images, videos, and sounds.
There. So we had the embedding of videos, sounds, and images. Okay. And in case that you didn't remember, we had our bookmarks. Okay. So last quarter we had lists, tables, hyperlinks, and the bookmarks. Whereas the bookmarks, it is assigning a certain name at a certain section in your web page and providing a shortcut on top or a link on top so that it is much easier to navigate through your website. And we also have our embedding elements or medias like photos, images, pictures, sounds, and videos. And we also have our character entities. Okay, so basically that is our summary for last quarter. So with those, we can already construct uh, a web page revolving around those types of content. Okay, and next one we are going to tackle is form controls, text fields, and field set. So what are these exactly? So first, our learning objectives for this topic is to identify what are the contents of a form, identify the tags and attributes used in creating a form. Okay, next is to enumerate the important elements in creating a form. And lastly, create an HTML document consisting of forms. Okay, so next, this one. Okay, as you can see, I have two examples of a form here. Okay, and looking at the left side, what form is that from? Yes, Precious.
Form sign up in Twitter.
Okay, that is a sign up form for Twitter. And what kind of details are they asking for? Yes, JP.
You're asking for your full name, phone number, or email, or your password.
Okay, so in the form of Twitter, sign up form, it is asking for your full name, your phone or email, and then the password. So basically in Twitter, it's asking for 3 personal information. And then looking at the right side, what do you think that form is from? Yes, Manalo.
From Facebook.
Okay, so this form is from Facebook. And okay, what also what are there? What are they asking for? What information are they asking for? Give one. Yes, Jaylan.
They're asking for our first name.
Okay, so first is our first name. Another one, Balmes.
Second is last name.
Last name. Okay. Manalo.
The sex.
Okay, so sex or gender. Yes, Tala.
Password.
Password. Okay, Aguilon.
It's also asking for the email.
Email. And Lagaya.
For your birthday.
Okay, for the birthday. Okay, so as you can notice, those two have different forms of asking for information. So with Twitter, it's just asking for your full name. So it is already in one text box, phone or email, and then password. Whereas to Facebook, it's asking for your first name, last name, email, password, your gender, and your birth date. Okay, so aside from those, aside from the amount of information or personal details that they are asking, what is the difference between the two forms? What can you notice? Yes, Precious.
At the first form, you already had an account in Twitter. That's why you just have to sign in and sign up for the second one. You don't have an account in Facebook. That's why you have to create an account to be able to sign in.
Okay, so can be that. Okay, and what else? Visually, yes, Sawali.
For Twitter, there is a checkbox where you agree to the terms of services and privacy policy, while for Facebook, there is none.
Okay, in Twitter, we have a checkbox. Whereas in Facebook, it doesn't have. What else? Aguila.
In Twitter, the thing that you need to type is written in the box, like the full name. It's in the box, while in Facebook, it's beside the box.
Okay, so in Twitter, okay, so that's already it. In Twitter, we have no labels outside the text boxes. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 text boxes on Twitter, but it doesn't have any label assigned to them. So the positions for the label, so as long as it is beside the text box, so it can either be left, right, or at the top. Okay, but in this case, the text boxes for Twitter, it doesn't contain anything. It doesn't have labels. Instead, it has the words that it is asking for, the details that it is asking for is already inside. Okay, so later we'll discuss that further. So compared to here, Facebook has labels to its text boxes. Okay, and other form of information gathering. Okay, so keep that in mind later. So starting off, we have forms. So what are forms? So forms are the primary method for gathering data from site visitors. Okay, online forms are web pages purposely designed to gather information on the internet. In building an HTML form, we are placing form tags inside the body tags. Okay, so forms, they are the most common or the primary method of gathering data. So you cannot gather data without using forms, right? So let's say that you already made an account in other websites. Okay, so what type of data are they asking for all the time? Yes, Miguel.
Username.
They are always asking for a username. Yes, Tala.
An email.
An email. Yes, Dungan.
Your password.
Password. Sawali.
Your phone number.
Okay, and also phone numbers. And all of those come in forms. Okay, so that is the way that they are doing to gather all of your information so that for them to create an account for you. Okay, and it is very much similar also in surveys. So who here already answered a survey? Can be at a paper or online. Okay, there. So Balmes, what are the contents or what are the things that you notice in the surveys?
Teacher, sometimes it has forms and the one you will mark the circle, and
Okay.
also the one you will type or write.
Okay. So in those surveys, okay, the most common thing of them all is that they always have a space or a dedicated slot for your answers. Okay. So even if it is computerized, digital survey, or written surveys, okay, they always have a slot for your answers. Okay, because that is their way of gathering your answer. Okay, so even if it is a written form, so they have question here and then your answer below provided by a line. Okay, and it's not always by a text box. So in the survey, you can have check boxes. Okay, and we have choices, and you will just have to check one or more. Okay, so that is their way of gathering information. So it is pretty much similar to the forms. Okay, so to capture information from visitors, input fields are needed within the HTML document. Okay, so those input fields, they are responsible for creating a space for your answer. Okay, and okay, so what are the different parts of our forms? So first, of course, the text fields. So text fields, these are used when you want to capture personal information and others. Okay, so text fields, they are the text boxes of your form. Okay, so without this, the user cannot, of course, put their answer. So to capture personal information and others. Okay, so this is where they are contained. Okay, so that is our text fields. And the second part is the labels. So labels, these are used to associate an explanatory text to a form field. Okay, so let's say we have our text fields or input fields in here. Okay, so we have the text boxes, and in this case, we have a radio button. Okay, so the labels will provide identification to those fields as to what kind of information they want to enter. Okay, like for this one, it is asking for the first name. Second one is asking for the last name. And in here, it is asking for a choice. So what is their choice? Can either be HTML, CSS, or JavaScript. Okay, so labels are very important to be paired with their respective input fields. Okay, because imagine you only have input fields and you don't have any labels in them. Okay, you don't know what to put inside. Okay, you're going to be paranoid. What do I put? Okay, so same thing goes with our uh, input fields, our labels rather. So what if there is no what if there are no input fields? Okay, so they are displaying what type of information you should provide, but did not provide any fields to put your information. Okay, so those two work together. They always work together. So text fields and labels. Okay, and other thing, labels when it comes to radio buttons. Okay, so there are cases that you're going to have trouble selecting those buttons. So the labels right beside their input fields, they will act as an extension of the selection. So even if you are having trouble selecting those radio buttons, okay, you can just click their labels. So you can select it anyway, okay? So any questions on this part? Done? Okay. So use text fields to let user type in letters or numbers in a form. Okay, the type attribute for these fields needs to be set to the value of text. Okay, so there's another thing. So for the text fields, okay, their type attribute should always be in text. Okay, so because uh, the user need to provide an information that they can read. So the text is the most basic type of attribute that everyone can read. Okay, so later we'll elaborate that further. Okay, and also may I ask, those who can open your notepad or the editor during uh, the meeting, can you raise your hand? So that later I know who can perform a
Can't, but
demonstration.
I can't
Okay, so
screen
one.
share.
Hmm?
I can't screen share. Like
Okay,
it's
so
broken.
one is Tala, another one is Jomsi, and okay, so we have three. Okay, so probably later one of you I'll call for a demonstration. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, sample form. Okay, so this is already an example form for our gathering of data. So here we have a first name and a surname, and both of them have their respective text field. Okay, so this is the label and then this is the text field. So what do they look like in code? So first, of course, we will need to provide our form tags so that HTML knows that what we are typing is in a form. And then the two parts, so it is a label and then the input field. So same thing goes in our HTML document. So first we have the label, and then we have the input field. Okay, so label tag will provide the name, and the input tag will provide the text box. And as you can see here, it is already set to text. And then right after that, a line break. Okay, so keep in mind, if you're going to make a survey, always provide a BR unless the surname will appear here. Okay, in this case, if you do not have the BR, this next field will appear right next to the previous one. So let's try this one first. Okay, so in here, let's have forms. Okay, quick tip for everyone while you are writing your code. If you're going to write a code or use a tag that has an ending tag, always put already the ending tag altogether with the beginning tag, similar to what I did here, so that you know that you didn't miss any tags. Okay, so next we have label. And then, okay, so let's use first name as well. Okay, so with this, we can already generate our first field of form. So if we run this, there. So we already have first name and then its text box. And we can already type anything here. Okay, and as you can notice from the code, we didn't actually put a type formatting attribute. So why? Because the type attribute text is always the default for input. Okay, so even if I put type equals text, okay, so there's not much difference. I can even put special characters. Okay, so even if you forgot to put type text, the input of the text box here will always be in text. Okay, then how about let's add another one. Surname. Okay, surname. Okay, so as you can see here, this is our first field. And then right below, I added the second field. And I didn't provide any BR or line break. So what will happen if that is forgotten? So the surname will appear right after the first field. Okay, so always remember, if you're going to make a form, always provide a line break right after the first field. Okay, so once we run this, there. So there's already space separated, and it is provided with the space. And as you can see here also, our text boxes does not align. Okay, so one way that we can align this is by using a space. But earlier, I already added the space. So let's have a look. So I removed the space, run, so there. the space here disappeared, and I applied another space again, then there it appeared. Okay, but does that mean that I can just do this? No. So even if I run, the space will is not being recognized. So why? Because HTML only allows one space for each character. Okay, so what does that mean? So if you have a character here, you provide one space, and then it should already be followed by another character. So what do we use? Okay, we are going to use one of our character entities. So what do we call our character entity? Okay, yes, Daryl.
Non-breaking space.
Okay, so we are going to use the non-breaking space. So what again is the code for the non-breaking space? Not the number. Yes, Closa.
Hashtag NBSP semicolon.
Okay, so we are going to use ampersand NBSP semicolon. And there, if you noticed, from red, it turned to blue, meaning HTML recognizes that code or that character as a non-breaking space. Okay, so the code is pretty much easy to remember if you remember the name. So non-breaking space NBSP. Okay, and once I run this, there. So the text box nudged a little bit more to the right. So right after this, I can already add another space. There. So it will always be, so to provide the spacing, it should always be surname, space, NBSP, or the code for our non-breaking space, and then another space. Okay, so with that, we have 1, 2, 3 spaces. Okay, so remember, character space, character space. Okay, so that is how we are applying spacing to our forms or in our HTML document in general. Okay, so this is already our first form. Okay, so any question? Yes, Aguilon.
Sir, is it possible to put the text field under the f-
The
the first
text field
under
under.
the label
Okay,
below the
so what you'll do is you'll just provide the BR right after the label. There. So that's another option. There. So if you don't want to realign your text boxes by using spaces or non-breaking spaces character, you can also just transfer the text boxes or the input fields below. Okay, so is that clear? Any more questions? Yes, Balmes.
Teacher, in the book there is like input type equals text. Is it
Okay.
necessary to put that as always?
Okay, so let's just put the text here. So type text run. So there's not much actually difference if we're going to put the type text. Okay, so but still it indicates that the data that is being inputted in here is a text form. Okay, but in default, the input will always have the type text. So even if I erase this, it will still accept text inputs. Okay, so later, there's going to be a difference or importance to that formatting attribute. Okay, let's have someone demonstrate that, recreate that. So from the tree, can I call Tala?
Teacher, I don't know if my share screen is broken, so if I get out of the meeting, you know why.
Okay, so just try first. Yeah, I think your screen share is broken. Yes, just stop sharing first.
Okay, teacher.
Okay, so okay, how about Benedict? Oh, did you erase?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, just recreate it again.
Okay.
Okay, so first, our form. Okay, so for the others that are not able to use their editor during the meeting, you can take notes of the codes. Okay, so that right after you can already try it for yourselves. Okay, because the following activities, it may come in handy. Others double B. Okay, there. So try and change first the appearance. Let put a line break between the end tag of label and input.
Sure, what?
There. Just put a line break between the end tag of label and input. A line break, the BR. Also for the other one. There. Okay, there. So very good. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that is creating our basic form. Okay, so let's continue. So any more questions regarding this one? Everyone? Okay, so moving on, we already have our input attributes. Okay, so input attributes, these are the different attributes that we are applying to our text box. Okay, so first attribute is the type. So what I was saying earlier, the type attribute identifies the type of form controls to be set. So the type earlier, it was the given was type equals text. Okay, so that was the default. So other value from that for that formatting attribute is password. Okay, so later we'll try that out. Okay, the next one we have is name and ID. So its purpose is to identify the field. Okay, if you can still remember our bookmark, right? So in bookmarking, one is providing a link. So let's say that this is a text link, this one on top. And we added bookmark at a certain section. Okay, so that certain section, again, has an ID or a name. Okay, so we named that certain section on the tag. So once we named it, for example, we named it section 5. And then this link says we are going to section 5. So once we click that, the page goes to the section 5. Okay, so that was for the bookmark. So it is similar in here. So the name and ID is given to a certain input field. Okay, so that later on, if there is a need to call that particular text field, they can identify it easily. Okay, so there is a way that one text box will have a name. Okay, so either it can be named as L name or what else? Phone. Okay, so because one reason is there can be there can be a time that you will need to identify where the information was from. So for example, that information came from the text box phone or input type phone. So this text box will be easily identified. Okay, so that is its purpose. So we have type, name and ID, and then the value. So the value attribute assigns a default value to the text box. Okay, so if you have your text box, there is already a value inside or something written already inside, right? So if you can remember earlier, we have our examples, right? So those examples, which one was the one that has the default value? Let's go back. Okay, there. So which in these forms have a default value? Yes, Balmens.
Share the Twitter.
Okay, so the one with the default value is Twitter. Okay, because their text boxes already have a sample input or value, which will indicate what type of information you are going to provide. So unlike in Facebook, it's still using labels. Okay, so that is our value attribute. It will serve us also as a label. So if you do not have a space in your form, okay, so in your website, you're creating a form, but there is no space for a label, or you're trying to minimize the content of your web page, okay, you can just put the value formatting attribute so that you can put an initial value or default value inside your text box so that people can easily identify what to put inside. Okay, so type, name ID, value. Next is the size. The size attribute controls the visible size of the text field. Okay, so the size attribute will determine how long your text box will be. Okay, so it is talking about how wide. Okay, and the last one, max length. The max length attribute sets the maximum number of characters allowed in the field. Okay, so what does that mean? So the max length, for example, okay, so what kind of data or information do you know that has a fixed amount of character? Yes, Sawali.
A password.
Okay, so but in the case of password, their requirement is the password should be a minimum of 8 characters. Okay, but not limited to 8 characters. Okay, so what else? Yes, JP.
It can be also for your name for your account.
Okay, so can also be not the name but the username. Okay, a username can only have a limited uh, amount of characters. Okay, what else? Yes, Talain.
Or your contact number.
Okay, so there, a good example. Your contact number. Your contact number, it is or it has a fixed amount of characters to it, right? So your phone number or the phone number of the Philippines has 11 digits or 11 characters. Okay? What else? Yes, Tala.
Verification code.
There. Verification codes. Okay? Some programmers may set a specific length for verification codes. What else? Jaylan.
Teacher, nicknames.
Okay, there. Nicknames. Or we can consider it also as the usernames. Okay, so all of those will have a maximum set of characters allowed to it. Okay, so with the max like formatting attribute, we can set the limited amount of characters to be typed inside our input tag or input attribute or field or text box. Okay, so let's try to apply all of this. Okay, but first, let's look at the example. Okay, so looking at this example, so we have the first name, the surname. So it is in here. So no other formatting attributes still applied. But going down to city or town, we can see already, so aside from the type text, we can already see a size formatting attribute for the city or town. And once we look at our city or town, the text box is shorter, meaning the default size is probably larger than 15. Then looking at the phone number, the size is 11. So it should be shorter, which it is. And next is the email address. The size is 32. Okay, so almost double the size. So meaning it is much longer than the 2. Okay, so that is how we are applying the size. Okay, so there's actually no indicator for the size. So probably it's up to you what size you're going to use. And then another formatting attribute that is included here is the max length. Max length is applied to the phone number. Okay, so just the same as your examples earlier. So the phone number should always have, if it is based in the Philippines, it will always have 11 digits. Okay, so it should not exceed, it should not be less. So exactly 11 digits. Okay, so let's try this one. Okay, and let's just use this as an example. Okay, and let's add another one. So we are let's say we add the phone number. Okay, so in here we have our input tag, and then we are going to apply our size. How about we use 10? Okay, so once we run this, there. So the input for or the text box for our phone number is smaller than the other two. So if the default size is like this, so with the size attribute, we change the length of our text box into a shorter length. Okay, so what other examples do we have? So we have email. Oh, wait, no. Yes, Tala.
Teacher, right when you type in the password, it's gonna show discs, but or dots or asterisk, but right there's an option where you can see and unsee it, the icon.
Okay, so that is going to be for our future discussions. Okay, so for today, we need to understand this first. So first, input, and then our size. So let's make it also 30. There. So as you can see, with the size attributes applied, we have our different length of the text boxes. And then let's apply our max length. So for the phone number, our max length or the number of characters should always be 11. So we'll set here 11. Okay, but first, before we do that, remove this first. We can see that we can put more than or a lot of digits in our text box. Okay, see? It goes on and on and on. Okay. So to set that or to limit that, we will apply our max length. Okay, so with the max length of 11, we can already put a maximum length of digits or characters. Okay, in case that you can't tell, I am still typing, but the characters are not adding to the text box. Okay, so that is the max length. Okay, and okay, then how about, okay, we're almost time. So let me just squeeze this one here. So how about the other value for the type attribute, right? So earlier we had the type text. Okay, so let's apply that in the surname. So type text, So we can apply or we can type different text in the text box. And the other value here is password. Okay, so everyone take note of this. So once we're done with the meeting, you can try this yourselves for those who can't open. So the type is password. Once we run this, so the characters in the surname are all converted into bullets. Okay, so that is the significance of the type attribute. Okay, so any questions? Yes, Balmes.
Teacher, if there's max length, is there minimum length?
I haven't actually tried that. So let's see if there is a minimum length. Okay, because probably that will fall under the coding or the programming of the web page. Okay, so let's try to run this. Set it in the phone. Okay, so there is not much indicator that there should be a minimum length. Okay, so that will fall under the programming already, which will indicate the length that is being typed. And also there should be a button. So to determine if you are done and the digits in the phone is it's still not enough. Okay. So for now, it's the only setting for now or formatting attribute for now is for max length. Okay, so any more questions? Okay, none. So we'll stop here. Okay, so this is all for today. So probably prepared for the activity if I'm going to post it on Monday. Okay, and for those who took notes, okay, so try it out yourselves. Okay, so that's all for today, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you,
See you and
teacher.
thank you,
See you and
teacher.
thank you, teacher.
Goodbye.